Hey there, Heather, hello there, Jeff Cutter, and welcome to another Degrassiism. This is my 101st Degrassiism. I talked about my 100th one doing the principles ranking in 2002. No, 2022. Why am I thinking? So anyway, this Degrassiism is the top 10 worst Degrassi episodes of all time due to the Reddit community. So, based on the fact that THT Guy did the worst Degrassi episode ever, and his pick actually did make the top 10. In fact, it did pretty good, but surprisingly, it was not top 3. I'll tell you that right now. So I decided to write a post saying, what is the worst Degrassi episode in your mind? And then after a few weeks, I wrote down all the episodes that were actually talked about. And all that. There were a few I had to go to the Degrassi wiki to say what season / episode it was and try to find the plot lines. So basically, I got 13 of them, and then what I did is I took out the one episode of the 13. Well, what I did was I looked at what generation these were from. I found 5 were from the non-next gen generation, where next gen is seasons 1 to 9, and there were 5 that weren't. 5 suggestions. So I decided to put those 5 in a poll. The lowest number out of the 5 would actually save themselves and all that. And then my randomization, I had the 8 next gen ones into 2 polls with 4 of them. So that meant the top 3 out of 4 would get into the top 10, whereas the last place one would be spared. And then I decided to randomly get two groups of 5, and the top 3 would make the final poll of 6. And normally I would say, okay, the others would be in a mini poll to see who spots 7 to 10. But because I like this so much, I decided myself to do it. So what I did was I looked at 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I would pick it based on my preferences and all that. So anyway, just to let you know that the 3 episodes of the show that did not qualify was Bark at the Moon, Working for the Weekend, and Season's Greetings. Well, Season's Greetings was last in the non-NG one. That's the one when Arthur and Yick fight, and then it takes Bartholomew and Scooter, who basically were the next pairing of Arthur and Yick, to try to keep them together. And then that's when baby Emma was brought in by her babysitter, because her babysitter had a family affair, and Spike had to take care of her. And then that's when Shane is prodded by Snake to hold Emma for the first time, even though Spike did all she could to prevent Shane from seeing Emma. And then, of course, a little bit later, that's when Shane had his accident. Working for the Weekend was about Jimmy and Spinner's t-shirt shop, and Bark at the Moon was about some stuff. But after I look at how crappy the original number 10 is, and that was How Bizarre, with Drew and Dallas in season 13, I decided How Bizarre wasn't that good. It was lame, but it wasn't that lame. So I decided to do a bit of reverse. So How Bizarre missed out on the top 10. So number 10 is Bark at the Moon. Now, it's kind of a bias, I know, but Bark at the Moon had 3 different reasons why it was terrible. This was the episode in which Spinner is still lusting after Manny, even though he was with Paige, and then all of a sudden that broke off. I guess Spinner's own immaturity. And then, of course, Paige herself was lusting after somebody. That would be Mr. Olander. And rarely we get a good third storyline. The subplot to the subplot was the termination of one Daniel Radich from Degrassi. He wasn't fired, he was reassigned. Although he could have been fired and he just didn't want to say it. They do give Radich a bit of a send-off in a decent scene and all that. If you look at the scene in which Hatzalakal starts talking to the students and all that, you'll see Radich and Simpson kind of shake hands and all that. Simpson kind of wanted Raj to take accountability for his actions because he, left Rick high and dry and all that. And let's not forget the fact that Raj allowed Rick to come back to school, even though that he could have just said no. I mean, I think the school board, in a sense, wanted Raj to take Rick back. And Rick could have went to a different school, and then presto, we have had no problems with that. But the simple fact is that was the last time Raj was seen or even mentioned on Degrassi ever again, which is kind of stupid. I mean, you want to go back to the OGs and can't say Raj's name, not even once. Yeah, I know Dan Woods wanted to leave the show, but still, yeah, it was just not a right way to go. And of course, this was the episode in which I made a boo-boo thinking that Spinner and Manny broke up after the episode, but like Manny says, I don't think I'm the bad guy. I think I'm the bad guy in this relationship with Spinner. Spinner says, that's fine, we can do it. And then they get back together. And then Manny breaks up with Spinner over the Rick situation. Okay, so number 9 is What's My Age Anyway from season 11. So this episode was when Anya falls in love with her mother's OBGYN gynecologist, I guess, Dr. Chris. Anya had a rough go in season 10. She wanted to be with Sav, but Sav wanted to be Holly J and his arranged bride. Anya felt terrible. She felt betrayed by Sav and all that. So she decides to go after Dr. Chris, saying that and lying about her age and all that. She just wanted to be loved and all that. And her mom was going through some painful stuff, and Anya felt like Dr. Chris would be perfect for her. Unfortunately, Dr. Chris does kind of lead her astray later on in the season, and Anya feels bad and then dates Owen, and then she falls off the map and goes to the military. Number 8 was Going Down the Road. This was the season 4 finale, which saw Degrassi get transformed into the set of a Kevin Smith movie, Jay and Silent Bob Go Canadian, And that's when Craig learns that Ashley is leaving for England. And, Craig's not too happy with it and decides to get off his meds. He's off his meds because he's upset over Ashley leaving him. And he lives in the school's boiler room for a while. There's a lot of people who are aiming to find Craig and all that. Craig was supposed to do the music for Jay and Silent Bob, but he goes off the rails. Of course, this is bad for many reasons. Reason number 1 was because, Degrassi getting this movie and all of that. It's like, how did they get the movie on Degrassi property? And this is the same season in which, Rick shot Jimmy and then died himself thanks to Sean's quick thinking. And to me, it's like, it's some sort of PR thing. Degrassi struggled with their PR and all that. Raj had no good signs. I mean, I know he was trying to deflect all the bullets, saying why, metaphorical bullets. Why did Degrassi mishandle Rick and all that, despite the fact that Rick should not have been back at the school in the first place. And then, of course, Hatzalakos becomes principal in Bark at the Moon and says that we need to set things up. And she makes all the right noises, even allowing Dracula to come back in after Raj decides to can it. Yeah, Alanis Morissette is the principal. It's funny. But, of course, it's always known for the episode when Kevin Smith managed to get Caitlin to cheat on Joey. Caitlin and Joey were an item in season 4. Only because Caitlin found out that Joey had to sell his house and then Sydney was involved. So she swiped and took control of the house so she could be with Joey. But then she dates Kevin Smith and then Joey is crestfallen, and that's almost the last time we see Joey in Degrassi. And then by season 6, I guess, he moves to Calgary. And of course, a lot of people said that past Mascheroni, the guy who is Joey, got canned because he was selling Degrassi stuff. But I think it was a front for the fact they just let him go for no good reason. And, Kevin Smith had a hard-on for Caitlin, or Stacey Mishden. I can't pronounce her name, sorry. But, yeah, when he was a teenager, so with Degrassi High. So, just no. Number 7 is Love is a Battlefield from season 7. I was actually shocked this one didn't get in the top 6 because I like this one. It just shows Alex at her worst. So Alex was trying to make great strides. She had a relationship with Paige the first time in season 5, and then season 6, Alex went back to school to get her grades up to become a therapist and all that shit. And then all of a sudden, she was making great strides and then proving to Paige that she is good. And then Paige becomes a fashion fashion assistant. But Alex starts to get lazy and get back to her old habits with Jay and crew and all that. Like, you know, I know skunk doesn't change its stripe, but Alex needed to better herself, and she completely made a mistake. And so, she started to get lazy and all that. Paige had to break off with her. Alex said she was going to move with a relative of her mother's to Ajax. And it's like, geez, Alex, you could have made more effort to be with Paige, but I guess it just didn't work out. It was a decent relationship. Don't get me wrong. Okay, so we got through those ones that I ranked by myself. The top 6 were ranked by the Degrassi Reddit community and had 163 votes. Well, it was a 2-day poll, but still. All right, so here we go. Number 6 with 16 votes, who just narrowly missed the top 5, was the Paris episodes from season 13. I didn't know the names. The main plot line was about Degrassi people going to Paris and all that for summer vacation. Tristan wants Maya to pretend to be his girlfriend so that Tristan can avoid coming out of the closet, as it seemed. I think we knew he was out of the closet, but he wanted to he didn't want people to like him and all that. Of course, Tristan would soon fall for Miles, but yeah, Maya was not too pleased and all that. A lot of people said, wait a minute. Tristan dating Maya. Didn't Tristan hurt Maya's feelings by yelling at her over the Yates situation? Yes, but that was in later season 13. This was not at the time. This was the start of season 13, and that's when we are introduced to Zoe, who her mom allows to go to Paris so that she can connect with her Degrassi mates and all that. And then, Allie meets Leo, and then they end up getting married. I thought it was a fake marriage or something like that. I don't know why they would get legally married or how Allie's parents would feel about Allie with Leo actually marrying this guy. Of course, Leo abuses Allie mentally and physically, too. Allie finally gets Leo deported back to France, and she feels bad about herself. It's like stupid how Allie was a great character who was going through redemption, and then all of a sudden the writers just let her fall back into old habits. She does, kind of redeem herself near season 14. Yeah, so that's weird. And, Zoe being a victim of circumstances. Well, Maya and Zoe would always tangle with each other. Okay, so number 5 with 17 votes was season 2's Relax. This was the episode in which Liberty tries out for the girls' floor hockey team, and then all of a freaking sudden she doesn't make it. But then she's told by Miss Hatzelackles, who was a teacher at that time, mind you, that we need a good manager. So Liberty basically was forced to do like laundry and all that, like team manager stuff. But then she said, I can step in and coach. So she uses tactics by Napoleon and all that to try to push the girls hard. Only because the girls' floor hockey team was facing the boys' basketball team to be sponsored by Jeremiah Motors. And I'm like, isn't that illegal for a company like Jeremiah Motors to sponsor a high school basketball or hockey team and all that? Isn't that like sponsorship? High schools can't do that. I think it's there, but I'm like, what the hell? So anyway, Liberty pushes everyone too far and they leave her. Liberty learns that she needs to be a good sport about everything. I know Liberty's an A-type and a go-getter and all that, and it just made her look bad. Now, let's not forget that in the end, the result was weird. Joey decides to sponsor both teams anyway. Like, that could have been just avoided, and Liberty would not have been tyrannical. A lot of people kind of hate Liberty on many subjects, including her race, but just nah. All right, so number 4, remember the episode I told you about THT Guy doing his worst episode of all time, and he said this one? Well, in season 7, episode 15, it was Got My Mind Set on You. Of course, you know that a lot of the titles are song titles and all that. How Bizarre, can't remember who sang How Bizarre. Bark at the Moon, I can't remember who sings that. What's My Age Anyway, that was a song, but I don't know who sang it. Going Down the Road, I can't remember what it was. But I think that was a homage to a famous 1970s TV movie by CBC. Love is a Battlefield is Pat Benatar. The Paris episodes, I can't remember the name. Relax was Frankie Goes Hollywood, but this was Got My Mind Set on You by George Harrison, long after he left the Beatles. So Got My Mind Set on You ended up being fourth, which was shocking. I guess THT Guy probably will be told that, yeah, the Reddit community, this was the Reddit community, and they said it wasn't the worst. So anyway, in this episode, it's when Derek and Danny wanted to go after a former Lakers student, named Rachel. And, Derek and Danny both were not part of Lakehurst at the time. Danny was introduced in season 4. Derek was introduced in season 6, getting under Perino's skin for some stupid reason. Perino is just a bitch. But anyhow, they both go after Rachel, and Derek decides to go get Rachel by planning Danny for a crime. Danny gets in trouble because of his race and all that. And they do stick it out somehow, which sucks because I'm like, Danny does not deserve Derek. Now, when I talked about Derek and Perino, Perino being a bully to Derek and all that in a post a while ago, people said, well, Derek deserved it and all that because he was a creep. But I said, this was when Derek was likable. This was before he caused trouble with Danny and all that. And, of course, Derek and Danny would fight over Leah with bad results. Also, the subplot was not that good either. It was when Emma, just after Snake was suspended for his supposed harassment of Darcy in season 7, but we all know Darcy lied to her mom because she couldn't say, hey, I got raped. Snake got in trouble. Emma was suffering deep inside because of Snake's problems and all that. So she decides to go after Damien, and, it's like, she's desperate for Damien somehow, and she decides to adopt a dog to get to Damien's heart. It's like, what the HMs? They call him Rufus Eggers. I'm like, Eck. That's a terrible name for a dog. And then a few episodes later, Emma would have a big problem with Snake was allowed to come back to the school because he was cleared of everything. But unfortunately, Lakehurst students make him look like the bad guy despite Snake being a good guy. And then all of a sudden, Snake goes through some issues. Spike tells Snake not to let Emma get involved because the last time she took control, she had an eating disorder. Ugly Spike. And then Spike decides to take the kids to her mother's place. But Emma stays back saying someone has to be an adult about it. I think she was just sticking it to Spike. But anyway, yeah, so it's weird. And of course, if you know the whole context with Emma and Damien is that, when a couple of episodes after JT got stabbed in season 6, Emma was upset when she finds out that Manny's dating Damien, who is student council president of Lakehurst. The guys who had 2 students go after JT and stab him and all that. And then Mia, former Lakehurst student, tells Damien saying, wait a minute, Drake Lampley's family. Your family knows his family. Have you talked to him? And Damien stutters, and Emma is, yelled at by Manny, as is. All right, so number 3 on the list with 27 votes was Touchy Gray from season 8, episode 15, a.k.a. the episode with Emma and pot brownies. Season 8 saw a lot of character development change for Emma, and, the college storylines were like, bleh. Do we really need college storylines? Do we really need them? Really? Yeah. But regardless, Emma, this was when, season 8 was when Emma was so clingy towards Manny and Liberty as friends. Because in the season 8 preview, she manages to get Manny and Liberty to be at the same dorm as her. And then Kelly coming in and all that, even though Emma had no right to do that. So anyway, yeah, Emma and Kelly date and all that, even though Kelly should have dated Manny. And then Emma decides to change her bland image because everyone hates her, calling her blonde and all that, and bland. So she tries to fix things up by helping her floor win, the floor Olympics by making pot brownies and all that. And, she's okay and all that. Unfortunately, though, the good times stopped when one of Emma's teammates suffers an epileptic seizure because she forgot to take her medicine because she was high off the pot. And then the school overreacts in a sense, saying that there's pot and all that, we need to find everyone. Emma then learns about the raid and tries to tell Kelly to flush the pot down, if you will. But Kelly gets caught. Kelly gets kicked off campus, but I don't know where Kelly goes. But anyway, Emma decides she needs to stand up for herself and tell everyone the truth. But Kelly says, no, because you're get expelled. Emma was trying to fit in and all that. She just lost her touch and all that. That's not the last part of Emma trying to fit in. Season 9, Holiday Road, when we find out that Emma and Kelly are broken off, Kelly goes back to the Yukon for a job, and Emma feels dismayed and all that. She does inadvertently tell everyone that she was chasing friends instead of grades because she felt bad, especially in the Degrassi Goes Hollywood movie. Manny goes to Hollywood to pursue her movie career, and Liberty goes to pre-law, and Emma's all by herself, and she feels useless. And then she marries Spinner. Ugh. Number 2 with 36 votes out of the 163 votes was Innocent When You Dream, Season 9, Episode 17. This was when Claire starts having vampire fantasies about Declan and starts writing vampire stuff. Claire in Season 8 was portrayed as the goody two-shoes sister of Darcy. You know, Darcy went to Africa. Claire's told that you're here to learn. Don't do anything stupid. And Claire brings a vibrator to the school, and then Claire's mom has to step in and parent, saying, hey, you know what? Ask me any questions you have. You know, Claire was supposed to be like Emma 2.0, and then she loses Casey to Jenna, and she's upset. But then Claire meets Eli, and then I think breaks off with him for a while, and then starts to have fantasies about Declan. He is hot, if you can do it from the mindset of a teenage girl watching season 9 of Next Gen. So yeah, Claire's vampire fantasies were weird. It's like, Claire, that's just completely out of possible. I think it was just handled incorrectly. And the number 1 vote with 46, and I kind of figured this was going to be number 1 because I voted for it just to see the voting results. It is Summer Girls, or as some people call it, Don't Look Back. It was a season 14 mini movie to end season 14. I would have been happy if season 14 ended with finally, you know, the story about Drew being in trouble with Till over the fact that his proposal with Becky. And Becky rejected Drew and then says that it's going to cause a commotion. So Drew is forced to stay away from the prom, and then Dallas misbooks the boat, and Drew's told by his mom to go to the school and fix up the prom, so they have it at the dot. Drew gets in trouble with Pill, who says that I need to prevent you from walking the stage because I need to make people coming into school play my way and all that. Kind of ego boosting and all that. Of course, Drew gets that graduation thing, and then Pill lets him walk the stage, and then Pill is gone. Well, remember, this is before Summer Girls was basically what led to Next Class. So we were done in season 14. It was like, oh, game over. Okay, 14 seasons, not half bad. So then they did this Degrassi summer movie, and I'm like, isn't that a little too far? Isn't that too close to everything? So anyway, some main plots. Summer Girls. Frankie meets a boy during her internship for her dad as mayor at City Hall, and the boy wants $10,000 or something similar to that because his girlfriend's been kidnapped and all that. So yeah. Anyway, meanwhile, Gloria Chin, who actually was in a Degrassi episode before Summer Girls. People think that, oh, Gloria was just brought in for the movie. Nope, she wasn't. Gloria was actually in an episode in Firestarter. Remember that season 14 episode that saw Miles accidentally burn the school and all that, and the end of Degrassi Nudes and all that? Yeah, Gloria was a cheerleader from a rival school who Tiny and Sid were trying to get her number. So anyway, Gloria is made to be the nanny of a music producer. She doesn't get the job, and Maya, after failing her lifeguard training, which would have been with her and Miles, actually ends up being the nanny and all that, taking care of the 2 kids. And all that, and we would soon learn that Maya had some issues with butting in and all that, because she was upset that the producer was, like, neglecting her 2 kids, and the fact that Sig said something about it. Maya talks to the producer and tries to explain herself, that she's just trying to be protectionistic and trying to, do the right thing, but the music producer fires her. So she's left with nothing. And then all of a sudden, she's kidnapped. And everyone's like, whoa, Maya's being kidnapped. So what are you going to do? So instead of doing the right thing and calling a missing police report and like calling the police, calling Maya's parents and all that, trying to find her, they use math to follow it. But again, I mean, Gloria, we find out that Gloria and the boy Frankie, like, actually were teaming up to get rid of Maya. And they tried to prevent Maya from making any contact with anybody. So we soon learned that Gloria and the guy, I can't remember his name, actually it was an extortion plot for $10,000. That, they wanted Frankie to pay $10,000 or else Maya would get hurt. Frankie tries to get Hunter, her twin, to give up his share of birthday money so that she can save him. Well, she always thought that, it was an extortion plot that, the boy wanted for Gloria, but it was found out that they were working together to screw the Hollingsworths over. I mean, yeah, Mr. Hollingsworth was a bad person, but just want $10,000 from him? And then, Zoe goes to summer school trying to leech off, like, Winston and a few other people. But then they find out about Maya's thing, save the day. Frankie is host and all that. And, Gloria and the guy go to prison and all that. So, yeah, and Mr. Hollingsworth gives them awards and all that. I guess to probably save his daughter and all that and be a little PR, all that. And then all this time, Tristan's talking about it in a vlog or video log. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. And then at the end, I know it's not word for word, but I'll say this. He says, if you think that's messy, wait till the next class comes in or the new class comes in. And I'm like, they just rebuilt Degrassi again? We were told Degrassi was going to be canceled. Like, they're redoing it? Oh, dear God, no. 14 years is pretty good. And then, of course, next class comes in. A lot of people treat it as a spin-off of Degrassi Next Gen and all that, or Degrassi, another spin-off. But, I mean, the students from next class come in from Degrassi Season 14 into next class and all that. We have, like, new people and old people, like Zoe, Maya, Miles, and Tristan and all them. The thing is, when Degrassi High was in the same thing with Junior High. The Junior High people just went to high school. And then from Degrassi High to Degrassi Next Gen, nobody came in. Well, it was a 9-year period. So, yeah, that's a spin-off. And the one thing that ticks me off about this episode more than anything else is the simple fact that there was no storylines that carried from Summer Girls into next class. None. Zilch. They didn't mention it about, Zoe trying to be a hero and being on everyone's good graces. They didn't talk about, when Maya's stuff about her being kidnapped and all that. And, Frankie being duped, but thankfully no money exchanged hands, so she kind of saved it. So there was no carryover from Summer Girls into next class for any reason whatsoever. They didn't really mention things, I think. So logically, there was no payoff. It was just a stupid movie. At least with Degrassi Goes Hollywood and Degrassi Goes Manhattan, we saw some carryover. Degrassi Goes Hollywood, we find out there was carryover with Manny being in Hollywood. That, she leaves Emma high and dry as a friend, in a sense. And Emma starts to spiral without Manny around. And Liberty, for that matter. And then Degrassi Goes Manhattan, we had the blow off with, Fiona and Declan. Fiona being worried and wanting to latch on to Declan because she doesn't have anyone around her. So logically put, there was some carryover and all that with those two movies, but not with Summer Girls. Kind of stupid, don't you think? Yeah, I figured Summer Girls was going to be #1 from the start. But you know what? I could have been wrong, and I nearly was. Anyway, I'm grateful for you watching this. So thanks for watching. I'm